All right, made it over 40,000 miles. I hope nothing breaks at this point. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning into the channel. So this is my 2021 C8 Corvette. I've had it for over 2 years now, and it has now over 40,000 miles. So we're gonna go over how it's endured those 40,000 miles in this video. So alrighty guys, so the first thing that we're gonna go over is the paint job, and particularly this front hood area. Now, I've done a video on how the paint has held up after 30,000 miles and such, and there was quite a bit of paint chips on the front bumper. If you haven't checked out the video, I go into full details in regards to that. But as a quick refresher, I don't have any PPF film on the front of my C8. I just have the car ceramic coated. And honestly, that was a really dumb decision on my part. At the time, I wanted to get the Borla exhaust system, and I was like, I'm not gonna get PPF, it'll be fine. No, don't do that, don't do that. Alrighty, so checking out the front bumper, you can see that there are a few spots that I am hoping to God that the camera is picking this up, but it is definitely a few spots that are quite nicked from some big rock scratches. You can see some over here. I could probably mark the whole thing. It looks like freaking Swiss cheese with all these different marks, and you can definitely get a nail on it in regards to, yeah, you can definitely get a nail on it in regards to these rock chips. I know a few of my viewers will say, well, stop tailgating. I promise you, I do not tailgate that close to cars in front of me, especially on the highway. It's just how Texas roads are, and honestly, just there's so much construction that goes along in where I live, and so it is just rock chip central in regards to how many rock chips I get on the C8. So, I mean, it's not, except for a few spots that are pretty bad. In general, I mean, the paint job has held up. It's one of those things, if you get to within like maybe 1.5 feet, you can definitely see the rock chips, but any further away from it, you can't see it as much. Now, where it is a lot more noticeable is honestly on this black area here. This thing got chewed up. It is definitely rough. I know it's probably a little hard to see in regards with the lighting and such, but it is definitely looking pretty tattered, and definitely one of those things where I wish I had gotten PPF. It probably could have saved these pieces, but I'm an idiot, so I didn't get PPF. I really should have. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, there's a few spots here that definitely got nicked pretty bad from some rocks, so definitely would recommend getting some PPF on your C8, especially if you're getting a new one. The paint does get pretty tattered in regards to some of these rock chips kind of deal. So like I said, it's not terribly noticeable if you're decently far away, but if you're wanting to keep a show car kind of quality with your paint, it is definitely something I would recommend getting in regards to PPF for at least the front of your C8. By the way, it is insanely windy today, and so I do apologize if there is a little bit of wind noise in this recording. It's a clear day, but it is definitely freaking windy as hell. So okay, so the next thing that you're gonna want to know is how the interior is held up, especially the seats, and that's actually kind of been interesting. So let's go and take a look at that. So alrighty, so looking at my seat in particular, now I'm a bigger guy, so you're gonna definitely get more wear. If you're a bigger person, you're just rubbing on the seat more. So, but after 40,000 miles, it is pretty evident that there is some wear, and I have the natural dipped interior, as you can see, so it does make a little bit of a difference in regards to how noticeable it is compared to like black leather if you had that as an option. So yeah, as you can see, I mean, one of the big spots is on the side of my on the side bolsters on my seat here. That's where you have the biggest rub. I mean, I'm putting my hand right there in regards to getting in and out of the C8, so I probably could improve how I get in and out of the car, but this is definitely wear because I'm just a bigger guy, and it definitely is showing. You're starting to see a little bit of cracking going along some of these. I don't know if the camera is catching it as well, but there is definitely some wear, and it's most noticeable on these sections right here. Now I'm pretty sure I could get this repaired if I went to a leather expert and get this remedied up. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go and do that. I just haven't gone and done that yet, but it definitely could use, at this point after 40,000 miles, it definitely could use that. I'm a little disappointed that I wish these seats would have lasted a little bit more, or would have been a little bit more resistant to wear, but honestly, for how I drive it and on the regular, I mean, it is not too bad. This is the worst of it, honestly. The rest of the interior in regards to the leather has actually been really, really good. I haven't had any kind of bubbling issues, thankfully, in my C8 with all of these. And I know that's a common issue to have, but the leather in regards to everything else has held up very, very nicely. So right, let's look at the other passenger side, which hasn't been used as much, so that might be a better illustration of how the wear would be on your C8. So alrighty, looking at the passenger seat, and I did do like a light cleaning of the car before this, obviously, but not anything crazy detailed. But as you can see, I mean, I don't like, my wife drives with me in the car, but not as often. But you can see the leather is held up a lot better, and it's just because of general seat wear. I mean, the passenger seat is not going to be anywhere near as affected as mine would be, so you're just going to see more wear on the driver's side, where obviously the driver's sitting. So, but like I said, not bad with the amount of wear on the leather. All the stitching looks really good still. The stitching is not coming out in regards to where you see it. It all looks pretty well, nice and tidy. So I'm actually really happy with how the leather has held up over the last 40,000 miles. Again, it's 2 years old, a little over 2 years old. I do condition the leather a decent amount, not a lot. I usually go and condition it maybe twice, like once a month. So I don't take the best care of the leather, but it is definitely in pretty good condition. I think the leather overall is holding up pretty well. I think it's just mostly just the high wear regions. I mean, it's pretty evident. You can definitely see the wear, at least on the driver's side, but everywhere else is actually pretty darn good. The steering wheel is looking good. I don't see any kind of issues with the steering wheel in regards to the leather. So overall, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. The leather interior has held up decently, except for the high wear areas where you kind of expect that to be. So righty, so one of the things is the engine bay and how it's looked after 40,000 miles. God, the wind keeps on picking up. I swear, I'm trying to talk and it just gets louder and louder, and it just gets windier and windier. It's like nature knows when I'm trying to actually do a video. Hasn't been windy the last few days, but today all of a sudden it's super windy. Anywho, so let's look at this engine bay and see how it looks. Looking at the engine bay, I know it's actually a little dirty in here, I will admit it, so bear with me in regards to that. So I do have the OEM carbon fiber pieces from the factory. I ordered it with pretty much all the carbon fiber you can get with the C8. So it included these pieces here, as well as this hood. Now the hood, kind of talking about the hood real quick, the hood has done really, really well in regards to no yellowing or anything whatsoever. So in the sunlight, it actually looked really, really good still. And I'm actually very, very happy with how it's come out and how it looks. I tried to clean it pretty well. I mean, if you see any kind of stains on it, that's because I did a terrible job drying the car when I was cleaning it earlier. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how well it's going to capture it, but there's no kind of yellow. There's very, very little to no yellowing on the actual carbon fiber roof, as compared to parts like my rear wing is starting to see some pretty decent yellowing kind of deal. The thing I will say, and it's been very well documented on other C8s that have it, of course, is the engine appearance package, the carbon fiber yellowing in the engine bay. This piece in particular is pretty darn yellow. It is not a nice gray anymore. It is a solid yellow piece at this point. And yeah, and it's pretty noticeable. So I probably might replace these pieces sometime soon. Again, my engine bay, I know it's a little dirty, but in regards to this piece, it has definitely yellowed quite a bit. But overall, I mean, there hasn't been any kind of issues with the engine itself. It's been pretty good. I try to keep everything decently clean, and just no issues whatsoever after, no engine type issues whatsoever after the last 2 years. Alrighty guys, so I'm back sitting in the C8 with the windows up so it's a little bit less windy to talk about the last big part, which is all the different error messages that I've had, like check engine light, all that kind of different stuff. I know I said before that the engine has been good. The engine has been good. There hasn't been any issues with that. But the C8 has thrown its fair share of error codes that we're going to go over now. So I will start with, I do have quite a large amount of aftermarket mods on the C8, and some of them have affected whether I get an error code of some sort, but 90% of them have been resolved in regards to what they are. So in particular, like the check engine lights that I've had, every single check engine light that I've ever had, and I've had about 6 at this point, ever since I've gotten the C8, all of them have been related to my exhaust system, my Borla Attack exhaust system. And it's one of those things where it is just the NPP valve that is sometimes goes a little, it doesn't move as fast as it should, and the engine, and the computer system doesn't like that, throws an error code. So it's one of those things, and I've gotten it verified by GM techs that that essentially the computer resets itself because it sees that the actual NPP valve starts working as it expects it to and stops throwing the error code. It's one of those things that it's just been more of a nuisance that it comes up and I'm like, oh, okay, fine, it's that. Although it probably would, if there was ever any kind of other issue, I would assume the wrong thing and I'd probably have my C8 blow up, which is probably not a good thing. But in any case, that's the only check engine light type issue that I've had with the C8, and it's all been related to the Borla exhaust system, which is more of just a meh inconvenience, and not really any kind of problem whatsoever. Now, as for general error codes, let's go through them. There's actually been, I love my C8, but it has definitely got its quirks. And so I've gotten error codes in regards to the rear axle one. That's been an error code that I've gotten before. At least generally that's one of those that you get if you're gonna have some kind of transmission issue. Honestly, I never have brought it in for that issue when it's come up, and there hasn't been any issues. The car works flawlessly, even though every once in a while it'll throw that rear axle thing, and it's not after I've done like some kind of heavy pull with the car, full throttle or anything. I'll just be cruising and it'll all of a sudden throw that. But that is, in regards to that error code, it's thrown that I believe 4 or 5 times ever in the 40,000 miles. Each time it's thrown it, and then I say okay, I acknowledge it, and then it goes, nothing happens. Everything's fine with the car. Nothing so it's one of those weird hangups that sometimes it could be an issue, but then other times it's not. I will admit, I was in pure denial when I first got it and just didn't want to bring my C8 into the dealership and it'd be stuck there for a month, 2 months, while the technicians figure out what's the issue and have to give me a new transmission as their final solution. I will admit that's probably a dumb way to look at it, but it is honestly how I looked at it, and it hasn't caused me any issues. There's no issues with the transmission or any of that kind of stuff. After 40,000 miles, I am going to need to buy a piece of wood to knock on after every single time I've said nothing's gone wrong, because I guarantee you, after this video, everything is going to go wrong on this car. I guarantee you. But anyway, okay, so that's one of the error codes that I've had on the C8. Another error code that I've had is the blind spot sensors are not working, or are temporarily disabled, which was a weird one. It only threw that code twice ever on the C8, and it was actually kind of interesting. Both those times was when it was raining, and it was raining really heavily. It threw those errors, and so my blind sensors weren't working during that time that it said it was temporarily unavailable. But then, the next day or the day after, worked perfectly fine. In fact, I think one of those times after I just turned off the car and just turned it back on, it was working just fine, no issues. So that was a kind of weird one that I was like, what the heck? And I didn't even have an opportunity to actually bring it into the dealership to get it looked at. Another one has been my front lift system. Now, a few of you have probably seen my front lift systems in regards to all the issues that I've had. Basically, my front lift system is probably the biggest thing that it's not really working on the C8. And there's been a huge debate going back and forth whether it was caused by my mod of lowering my C8 or not. I'm not going to get into that in this video. If you want to know more information, I'll have a link to my latest video talking about the front lift and what I found was the true reason of why it failed. But basically it was a manufacturing design issue, not anything to deal with my mods or whatnot. But in regards to that, my front lift system at this current moment does not work, and I haven't gotten it repaired because, I mean, it's one of those things I'll have to either repair it myself and get the actual tool to reprogram the front lift, or just bite the bullet and go to GM and have it done. And I just haven't decided either way, honestly. I probably still lean on just doing it myself. It's just a big time commitment to try to do that and repair on myself, and I want to keep doing other kind of mods and stuff in the meantime. But eventually I will get around to that. The latest really weird thing that I've had is every once in a while, my C8 will be speed limited, but it will be speed limited to 102 miles an hour, which is really weird. I had not been able to figure out why the heck that's been going on. I tried to troubleshoot it, thinking I believe it has to do something with the front lift error, but then again, it does it very sporadically. It'll do it one point and then not do it another point. And all within the same drive, not me turning off the car and turning it back on, all within the same drive. I'll have it that it just limits me to 102, won't let me go any faster than that, and then literally 10 minutes later, I try again and it'll work just fine. Let me go above it, no issues whatsoever. So that's one I'm probably gonna have to see about taking to GM and the technicians there to see what the heck the issue is. But then at the same time, it stopped doing it altogether, and it hasn't done it for the last 3-4 weeks. So I have no idea what the heck is going on in regards to that issue where my C8 was getting speed limited. And I've checked the typical things. It's not the valet mode, it's not the teen mode or anything like that. I tried it with the different car key fobs. It just does it so sporadically. There is no rhyme or reasons to it, and I have yet to figure out what that issue is, despite me trying to troubleshoot all that. And the only thing I can think of is something with the front lift, where my C8 will every once in a while give me a service front lift error message, but last 2-3 weeks it hasn't given me an error message with my front lift. But then again, I'm not using my front lift anymore on a regular basis, so I'm not really too sure at this point in regards to that, but it stopped doing it. So, I mean, honestly, it's one of those, the less reasons I have to bring it into the dealership to get it looked at, the less time I don't have my C8 around. And I just honestly don't want to deal with that issue of it getting stuck in a dealership for 2-3 weeks while they troubleshoot it and me just not having the car. So that's part of the reason why I haven't really dive too far into trying to figure it out. But that's probably one of the weirdest ones I've had, where the C8 is not letting me go above a certain speed, but then it will. And I've checked it mechanically, checked the brakes, all that kind of stuff. Everything looks perfectly fine. Yeah, it's really weird. So that's one of the weird ones in regards to that. So those are some of the main error messages that I've gotten. I think there's been on a couple of other ones, but I'm blanking on them. I really should have written them down. So that's my bad. But the last bigger thing that I've had an issue with is my rear camera in regards to sometimes not working when I'm backing up, which has been really, that one's also a weird one. It works perfectly fine sometimes, and then sometimes it just won't work. I haven't been able to figure out. I thought it was a heat issue, maybe with my exhaust system, but it just does it sporadically. The only one thing that I've noticed is that it's more likely to happen on longer drives. So if I'm driving for like 2-3 hours without stopping and then I back up, it's more likely to do it then, as compared to if I do a shorter 30-45 minute drive, hour drive, it won't do it then. All in all, it used to do that more often, maybe in the summer-ish, so it might be a heat issue. But then again, it hasn't done it for the last 3 months, and then it did it once last week. So it's like, again, it's one of those things, it's very sporadic. My C8 has just grown a personality. That is what I've basically understood, and that's what I'm going with. But all in all, I know my C8 has had its quirks, but I would not trade this car for anything. Maybe another C8 like a Z06 or E-Ray, or in my case, I'm focused on the ZR1 in a few years. But in any case, I really wouldn't trade this car for anything. It's got its quirks, it's got a personality, honestly, at this point. Sometimes it's a little fussy, but I kind of just deal with it. I talk nice to it and just hope for the best. So I'm going to be keeping the C8 for quite a bit of time, so I'll update on when I hit 50,000 miles, see what other kind of issues come up, hopefully nothing too big, and kind of go from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please check out any of my other ones, and we'll see you next time.